Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat?
We do have some pretty significant breaking news, and this is not a joke. This just minutes ago from Ian Rappaport on Twitter. And I'll read you the tweet directly, and then we have to discuss this, because this is a very serious situation as it pertains to the Saints, both immediate, short-term, and long-term. From Ian Rappaport just about a dozen minutes ago. The Saints suddenly have major QB question. Starter Derek Carr is now dealing with a shoulder injury that threatens his availability for this season, sources say. Carr is weighing his options, including the possibility of surgery. Rappaport also noted Carr's 2024 season ended prematurely with a fractured non-throwing hand. Now a shoulder injury has put his availability for 2025 in doubt. Okay. A couple of things. My immediate reaction to this, and I know what some of you are thinking. Matt's probably celebrating. I've always said this. I never want to see a player get injured. I'm not celebrating Derek Carr's injury. Come on, I'm not a heathen. All right. And what I've always consistently said about Derek Carr is that he appears to be all the things you want people to be in life. Sure. A good man, husband, father. All that is paramount compared to whether or not you can lead a football team to wins. Okay, so because I know I'm going to get that from people. So let's just start there, just to say that, so I can move on without having to address that any further. I've also been very clear that Derek Carr gives you your best chance to win games in 2025. I've said in every time I've ever talked about Derek Carr, he is a starting caliber quarterback in the NFL. He is. He is a. There are top tier starters. There are mid level starters. There are low level starters. There are backups. There are practice squad guys. Derek Carr is a starter. It has always been my contention, however, that he is a bottom mid tier, upper low tier starting quarterback in the NFL. He's a low 20s. He's a 25-ish starting quarterback in the NFL. You're never winning anything great with him, but he's the best option you have in 2025. I mean, now you may not have him in 2025. This does, we don't know how long the Saints have known this. This certainly explains why the Saints have been so diligent in their pre-draft process with every quarterback, from Shedeur Sanders to Jackson Dart to Quinn Ewers to Kyle McCord, Tyler Shuck. I mean, they've done their Jalen Milroe. They've done their due diligence on all of them, and this certainly magnifies the need, not want, desire, curiosity, need for a quarterback, because you can't go into training camp with just Spencer Rattler and Jake Haener. Like that can't be all that you have. So do you draft a quarterback? Do you add a quarterback in veteran free agency? Now, my single biggest question here, like this news certainly explains why the Saints have been so diligent in the pre-draft process. It does not, however, explain why the Saints restructured Derek Carr's contract. Because in so doing, not only did Derek Carr's contract now hamstring the team this year, but also kicked money into next year, where his dead cap number is $59 million now, where he will, even if he's not on the team, he's counting $59 million against your cap next year because of the decision you made to restructure him this year. So that was, is, has been, will continue to be my issue. Now, did the front office not know of this shoulder issue at the time they restructured him? If not, is that negligence? Is this a new thing? Is it something that carried on from last year? I don't know the answer to that. We'll get that answer in time. But I do think this absolutely now calls into greater question the decision to restructure his contract, because it handicaps you for next season as well financially. So if Derek Carr is unavailable, now you look at what are your options. You have Spencer Rattler and Jake Haener on the roster, and you can obviously go draft a quarterback, be it at 9, at 40, somewhere else in the draft. You trade into late round 1 to get Jackson Dart. I don't know how all that's going to play out. I certainly think this means if Shedeur Sanders is on the board at 9, that this almost feels like a must now, that you're going to take Shedeur Sanders at 9 if he's on the board if you don't have Derek Carr available. You have to have an option other than Rattler Hayner. Or you go into veteran free agency. And this is the list of veteran free agent quarterbacks that are available right now in the NFL. The first name you blurted out was Aaron Rodgers. It sure seems like Aaron Rodgers is headed to Pittsburgh. And if you're Rodgers, the real question is, Rodgers is only still in this thing to try to win, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's trying to win a title. The Saints are not, even with Aaron Rodgers, the Saints are not a contender. Drew Lock, Carson Wentz, Easton Stick.
Who?
Right. Teddy Bridgewater's interesting. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater was a great part of the 2018 team that won the, it was the one seed, in the team that got Nola no called. But Teddy Bridgewater's 32 years old and could certainly come in and be a veteran starter for you while you get the young guys some experience. C.J. Beathard, Tyler Huntley, Brent Rippon, Jeff Driscoll, Desmond Ridder. Those are the unrestricted free agent quarterbacks right now. Like, there's no great option.
No.
And so I'd ask you, would you rather one of those guys or draft a quarterback and start your transition? And for me, I think it's a very easy decision. None of those guys, what I would actually do is I would like to see them sign one of these veteran free agents and draft someone preferably at 9 if it's Shedeur Sanders. If not, if you trade back into round 1 and maybe take Jackson Dart. That would be my preference because, and I'll ask you to speak to this maybe from a pro athlete's perspective, the ability to sit and watch. I love the idea of drafting a quarterback and giving them the opportunity to sit and learn so as not to be thrust into it immediately. We've seen this several times. Patrick Mahomes sat for a year in 2017 before becoming the starter in 2018. Jordan Love sat behind Aaron Rodgers before taking over. Aaron Rodgers sat behind Brett Favre before taking over. I could even point out a guy like Sam Darnold, who was thrown right into the fire in New York. It didn't go great.
Right.
He had a couple of vagabond years, Carolina, San Francisco, where he got to sort of just sit, watch, learn, process, grow, develop. Last year, went to a good team in Minnesota where J.J. McCarthy gets injured. Now Darnold has to start and then win 14 games. Mm-hmm. So I think there's benefit to bringing in someone behind a veteran. And that's one of the reasons I kind of like the idea of drafting someone this year so they could sit for a year behind Carr and then take over next year. But, I mean, this is the report from Ian Rappaport that Derek Carr has a shoulder injury. It is quite possible that he will have surgery, which will end his 2025 season. And if so, that would end his time in New Orleans because he's not going to be on the roster in 2026. What are your thoughts?
I think the sitting thing is a case-by-case basis. I mean, you can point to guys that it's benefited for sure, but from a player standpoint, like, you're ready to go. You're a first-round draft pick quarterback. Peyton's going to have no problem going out there throwing a ton of picks because he knows once he gets this offense down, it's going to be over for everybody else. So from a developmental standpoint, a case-by-case basis, some guys can benefit from that. But I would say most competitors, most players are like, no. Give me the playbook, give me the rock, let me run this show. But one question I would ask, I mean, you alluded to it.
Real quick, before you go to your question, I'm coming back to your question.
Yep.
I'm sorry, but I want to follow up on your point. But is that a situation where sometimes, like, the adult in the room needs to save the young person from himself to say, no, like, I know you want to go, and as a competitor, I love that, but this is what's going to be better for you long term? Because we have seen situations where young quarterbacks play and they get wrecked early by their lack of success.
Yeah, again, I mean, I think it's a case-by-case basis. We don't really know how those young quarterbacks are going to handle it mentally if they're not having success. And then, what's the supporting cast look like around them? What does the division look like? How, so it's hard to make that blanket statement saying that it's great for them to sit. I can see advantages for sure. You just stated them.
Jaden Daniels would be the counter argument.
But also, how can you mimic live reps? Like what better way to develop than developing on the field? I would argue that there's no way that it's more advantageous for a guy to sit and watch than it would be for them to go out there and get those reps, whether you win or lose. You would just have to know from a fan base, an ownership standpoint, and coaches we're going to take our lumps here, but these are valuable reps for the next 3, 4, 5 years. But no, look, the question I was going to ask you, and you alluded to it and you said it earlier, none of those quarterbacks on the unrestricted free agent list are going to impact the team and make the Saints a winning ball club. Fair? And
I don't see how any of those guys comes into this roster and makes them a contender. I mean,
is there a quarterback in the league right now, Pat Mahomes? If Pat Mahomes was wearing a Saints uniform, are the Saints a contender next year?
I think they win the NFC South. They're in the playoffs, and if you win your division, you're hosting a playoff game.
You got a chance.
So you're at least, I think you're hosting a playoff game if Patrick Mahomes is your quarterback.
Yeah.
But none of these guys is the best quarterback in the NFL.
My question would be, what does the quarterback draft class look like next year? So why would you spend that capital in the first round on a guy unless he's like the guy that he is the can't miss of all can't miss prospects, if you know next year's probably going to be a wash anyway?
But here's the problem. You don't know where you're picking next year. So there is a general consensus belief that next year's quarterback draft class is deeper than this year's.
Okay.
Right, so there's Cam Ward at the top of this draft, and everybody knows it, who, by the way, I'm not sold on. Like, if you gave me my pick, honestly, you gave me my pick of Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, I would take Shedeur Sanders over Cam Ward. I would. I'm not saying that's a popular opinion. I'm not saying I'm going to be right. I'm just saying, based on what I saw these guys do in school, measurables, ability, everything I saw, I would take Shedeur over Cam. For a lot of reasons I've already talked about. But yes, I mean, in theory, Arch could be in next year's draft. But we spoke to Jeff Duncan earlier in the week, who knows the Manning family well, and he said the belief is that Arch is going to spend at least 2 years as the starter at Texas. He's not coming out after next year. Garrett Nussmeier will be in next year's draft. You could see Lenora Sellers in next year's draft out of South Carolina. I mean, there is a feeling that next year will be a deeper draft class. But is it but there's always going to be unknowns. Yeah. I mean, there is no such thing as a sure thing. There are guys who there's a consensus belief. But look, last year, that was Caleb Williams at the top of the draft, and the Bears passed on Jaden Daniels. That looks like a stupid decision now. Now, we'll see how it plays out over the next decade with those two guys. But after a year and both of them starting and both of them going to not great situations, I would actually argue Caleb went to a better offensively, had more talent around him offensively than Jaden Daniels did. I mean, when they drafted Roma Dunze, they were certainly better at running back. DJ Moore's on that roster. I mean, you had Cole Kmet. I mean, that was a better offensive roster. Mm-hmm. Jaden just elevated everybody.
Sure.
So I understand your point. Everyone says wait till next year to draft a quarterback when it's a deeper class, but you don't know what quarterbacks are going to be in that draft class, and you don't know where you're going to be picking.
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes in the draft you have to deal in the present. What is the situation I'm looking at now in this year's draft? And listen, if the Saints have Shedeur Sanders like 40th on their board, then I don't think you take him at 9 because you need everything. So get a quarterback at 40 or in round 3. And it may not be the franchise-altering player, or maybe you get Russell Wilson in round 3. Mm-hmm. Maybe you get Jalen Hurts in round 2. Like, those things do happen. So it really is up to their board. But I think what's absolutely clear is if Derek Carr isn't going to play this year, you have to add another. Have to add you're not going into the year with Spencer Rattler and Jake Haener. You have to add a starter, either a high level draft pick or a free agent who has been a starter. And of the list we just went through, I don't think Aaron Rodgers is realistic because he's going to want to go somewhere where he can win or he's going to retire. Mm-hmm. And I think Teddy Bridgewater is probably the other guy that I would say, veteran dude, has been with the Saints, loves the city loved him. The whole bike life celebration and Choppa style, it was all Teddy in the locker room. People loved him. Riding his bicycle to the dome. I mean, that would be awesome if you wanted to go veteran, 1 year stopgap, and then bring in a rookie and let them all compete for that job with Kellen Moore there. But I mean, the Saints are a mess of an organization. Yeah. The roster is old. It's expensive. You've got a starting quarterback now that you invested in financially into your cap heavy for 2 years. He's likely not going to play this year. And then if he doesn't play this year, he certainly is going to be back on the roster next year. I mean, there just isn't a lot of good around this organization right now. I mean, it's just, as a Saints fan my entire life, I don't know. I mean, I watched there's people older than me who watched the 1-15 team in 1980. I mean, I was born in '82, so I didn't even see those teams. I've seen the successful era of the Saints, but I've seen some bad Saints football as well. This might be as low as it's been. I mean, Katrina was a completely different circumstance because of everything involved, and if there was even going to be a city to come back to, I understand. But I'm just talking about, and that that vagabond year they won 3 games, but this is as low a moment for the franchise aside from Katrina as I can remember where they are. So it just feels like success is so far on the horizon, it's almost like a dot in the distance you can't even see.
I remember maybe 2 or 3 years ago, the dumpster fire for Nussmeier. I think we need to get that back going again.
Brother, you as a joke started dumpster fire for Nussmeier. Yeah. I think that was actually when he was a freshman.
Could be
20
a real thing.
Or 21.
This could be a real thing.
And that was in 21. You started the dumpster fire for Nussmeier thing. And
sounds like a T-shirt. If anybody makes that T-shirt, I'm suing you. That's my thing. Dumpster fire for Nussmeier.
We're going to make it. We're going to get dumpster fire for Nussmeier ready to go, and we're going to get up on 929 Misfits today.
Let's do it.
All right, we'll get it. All right, it is After Further Review. We're here at Don Juan Cigar Bar in Town Center. Again, if you're just joining us, wondering what's going on, the news just coming down from me in Rappaport. Derek Carr, shoulder injury, mulling surgery, could be done for the year.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.